Sup guys, we got another race day recap, and this time we're recapping the Sunshine Coast half marathon that I did a couple of days ago. We got the medal. There it is, the proof. Still waiting on the timing tag for the PB. So the Sunshine Coast Marathon was a crazy event, crazy day, and I couldn't be happier with the result and how the race went. So I managed to scrape 2 minutes and 3 seconds off the PB. So my official time was 1 hour 18:36, or what I like to say 78:36 because it sounds way faster. So as you all know, if you follow me on Instagram or you watch the videos, then you know that the goal was sub 80. So you can consider that done. So I knew I was in fitness to get the sub 80, but I honestly blew my own expectations out the water by getting that sub 79. The day started off business as usual, getting up super early at 3 a.m. where I then had my double shot coffee, I had my salt hydration electrolytes, and I had my classic peanut butter and honey gluten-free English muffin. And because we lived about 45 minutes away from the event, we had a 3:50 a.m. departure. We arrived at the sunny coast about 5 a.m. where we parked about 2 kilometers away from the event. So it took us about 20 or so minutes to walk to the event, get into the VIP, and then we pretty much just had to warm up and get ready for a 6 a.m. start. I upgraded my ticket to a VIP ticket, and it was only an extra 50 bucks. And what we got was a separate area next to the finish line that had pre-race and post-race nutrition. They had hydration there as well, so they had like water and juice. I wasn't hopping into the juice, but they had it there. They had Cliff Bars, and they also had a separate portaloo, or a couple of separate portaloos, which was pretty much the selling point for me, because there's nothing worse than lining up for 20 minutes before your race just so you can go to the toilet. It sucks. So had our own personal toilet, which was so great. Definitely took full advantage of that. Another thing I got with the VIP ticket was a post-race massage, which I booked in for straight away, and I, again, took full advantage of that. It was so good. So now it's about 5:30. I ended up meeting up with Tommy Newell, who was running the half marathon with me, and we did a couple of stretches, chatted some shit, and then off we went, ready to go. Also, we were actually at the front of the group with all the elites and stuff, because we had our time as like a priority time, which was under 1 hour and 24 minutes for the half marathon. It was jam-packed, but we ended up being in this front group that got to leave about 30 seconds before the rest of the guys went. So that was really cool. We only just scraped in behind the tape there, but that made it a bit easier for Michaela and Tommy's girlfriend Katie to get some footage of us as we ran past. Cool, so that's pretty much everything from before the race, and now we'll just get into during the race. So we'll do a full split breakdown here. How I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna break it up into 5-kilometer lots and give a rough explanation on how I was feeling for those 5Ks and any notable things that happened during the race. So for the race, I carried 2 gels in my back pocket. I carried one 30-gram carb gel, just a regular carb gel, and then I carried a Morton caffeine gel, which was 30 grams carbs and 100 milligrams of caffeine. Hydration-wise, I only ended up sipping on a little bit of water about 5 kilometers in. My mouth was super dry, and I try not to slow down and grab water very often in a half marathon race, only if I'm desperate, just because I don't like slowing down, and I like to keep momentum and stay in the zone as I make my way through the race. And I like to just try to push through as best I can. Sweet guys, so I've got the splits up here on the laptop. I've also got the splits up on the phone. So we'll go through these. So for the first 1 to 5 kilometers, if any of you guys have ever run the Sunshine Coast Half or Sunshine Coast Full Marathon, you know that there's the Alex Hill right at the start. So that was a pretty decent incline. The first kilometer was 24 meters of elevation. So massive elevation. And most of the hills for the course was in the first 5 kilometers. So it made for a really fun, sort of tough start to the race. The goal pace that Tommy and I decided on was we were going to try to hold 340 to 345 pace for the entire race, and we're going to kind of stick together and help each other through that, which we managed to do even for that first 5K. Even though there was like a few hills thrown in there, we managed to keep it in between that goal pace zone, which I was really stoked with. Not gonna lie, I was starting to feel like I was overreaching a little bit, trying to hold that pace. Not sure if it was from the hills or I was just still getting into it, but I was starting to feel pretty gassed, trying to stick at that pace. And Tommy was feeling really good, so he boosted on ahead and he left me because yeah, he said he was feeling super strong. So yeah, he left me, and then he was probably about 20 meters ahead at this stage. My first 5 kilometer split was 18:43, which I was honestly pretty happy with considering the hills and everything else. So from the 5 to 10 kilometer mark, I ended up running next to this bloke who would be probably in his late 40s, early 50s. And he says, "Hey mate, what's your goal that you're going for? Are you going for sub 80? And I'm like, "Yeah, going for sub 80. He's like, "Sweet, do you wanna work together?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, sounds good." He's like, "Do you wanna do 1 kilometer intervals, breaking the wind? So I'll take the first kilometer, you sit in behind me, I'll break the wind, and then we'll interchange each kilometer and we'll help each other out and work together." I've never done this before with any race, and I found it really helped me keep pace and take my mind off the race. I pretty much went into autopilot with this legend. Around the 8 kilometer mark, I took my first gel, and then arriving at the 10 kilometer mark at 37:23. So that was another 18:45 kilometer split. So from 10 to 15 kilometers, I continued on with this bloke, chopping in and out 1 kilometer at a time, breaking the wind, until we got to the 14 kilometer mark, and there was a hairpin turn at the end of Maroochydore, where he dropped off the pace a bit, and I looked over my shoulder and he was about 5 meters behind me, and he yells out, "Don't worry about me, mate, go out and get it." So I had nothing left to do but soldier on by myself, and I was really thankful for that bloke, because I think he definitely kept me in it for that 6-7 Ks where we were helping each other out. Legend. I just assumed he had a cramp or something. There was some sort of complication. I felt bad for him, but at the end of the day, I just had to go out and get it. And then at this stage, I turned my music up because I had it down low just so I could talk with this guy. So left him, turned the music right up. I switched the playlist over to my run and bass playlist, which is all just drum and bass, just high energy music, and switched the tempo, switched my whole mood with that. Also reaching the 15 kilometer mark at 56:19, which was another 18:55 5 kilometer split. Into the final split, so 15 to 21 kilometers. At the 16K mark, I took my final gel, which was the Morton caffeinated gel, and this honestly made the biggest impact on my race. It was like night and day, the difference in energy that I had. I really felt the gel. I literally felt it like within 5 minutes of taking it, I felt the energy boost. My final 5K was the fastest 5K of the entire race. At 18 Ks, I ended up catching up to Tommy, passing him, and then for the next K, I ended up running a 3:38 split, and I honestly felt like I was just floating through the race, floating down the road to the finish line. Reaching 20 Ks at an hour 14:49, so that was an 18:30 5 kilometer split. Crazy. I was determined to finish as strong as physically possible, and I ran a 3:31 split for my final kilometer, bringing the pace down to under 3 minutes for that final home stretch running through to the finish line. That was easily the strongest I've closed the race and easily the fastest. Crossing the line at 78 minutes, 36 seconds, let's go. Sweet, so what's next? I'm right in the middle of marathon training for hopefully the Melbourne Marathon coming up in October. I say hopefully because I am an idiot and waited too long to get my ticket, and it actually sold out, so I'm on the wait list praying that I get a ticket. But don't stress, because if I don't get a ticket, I've got a backup marathon, which is the Perth Marathon, and it's around the same time. But I would really like to hopefully get into the Nike Melbourne Marathon, where I hope to run a PB. For that marathon, I want to get as close as I can to 2 hours and 50 minutes, But as my training progresses and we get closer to the event, I'll be adjusting the goal to maybe a more specific goal for that one. Sweet, that is it for today's full race day recap of the Sunshine Coast Half Marathon. Honestly, so stoked with how it went. I'm on a bit of a runner's high still from the event, and days like that just reminds me why I do this shit, why I race, why I get up every day and run for an hour. It's pretty much all for these great feelings. And shout out to anybody that yelled out any words of encouragement throughout the race. I had a few people yelling out some nice words, and yeah, it's just a really nice feeling getting those words of encouragement and seeing you guys support me out there along the way. So thank you so much for that, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.